Dun, 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 dun. What's up, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls? Hello. It is Friday night. Can you believe it? It is 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and you are at your place for the Unfiltered experience with myself, Christopher Rausch, your No Excuses coach, and I am joined tonight by the always amazing, awesome Mr.
Scott Goyette, thank you for that wonderful
Scotty Goyette.
intro.
Yeah, we got to do things. We got to have a good time tonight. Cheers, brother. I can't even believe that it's already been a flip. I'm like blown away at how fast. I just texted Debbie, our guest last Friday, and I said, "Can you believe it's already Friday? Like a week ago today, we were going live with her, and it's like, boom! The last 7 days it just blew up. I mean, what's going on, man?"
Yeah, there's an old I don't know if you've ever heard the metaphor, analogy, or simile, or whatever it's called for life, and it talks about it's like a movie reel, and in the beginning it takes a long time to go around, and then as the reel starts going, it starts going faster and faster and faster. And it's interesting because when you look at that parallel between watching a movie to life, there's something about at the end, it's ending soon, whatever. I think we start to take note that there's a finish line. We're not going to be here forever. And it just starts going quick because remember when you were a kid and you would literally sit in the summer and the summer starts and you're like, oh my God, it was so long. Now
Yeah.
it's like we look at our kid and we're like, they go off to a summer camp. Like, did the summer just end? Did the summer
Yeah.
just end? It's all like 1 second. It's unreal.
It is. It truly is. I mean, to your point, I mean, that's the kind of the freaky thing about it. And I think that's one of the things that you and I really press for people watching the show is to enjoy those moments, like to just be involved in those moments. And if you're involved in those moments and you're soaking up those moments, then no matter how fast it goes by, at least at your heart of hearts when your journey is done that you were there and you were present for those amazing experiences. Because I find so many people are not present in their successes, in their victories. They're always on to the next thing, or they're pontificating what they could have done better, and they're never really super enjoying their life. And that was me. I mean, I was always in the future, thinking about what it is that I needed to do or could do to get the next raise or the next promotion or the next girl or whatever it was, or pontificating about the past, like, oh, I could have done this better, I could have done this better, but I was never really in the moment, or I was trying to avoid the moment because I didn't want to think about my problems.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I mentioned this to you last week. I'm seeing that, tenfold. I was talking to somebody in the sauna and we were talking about meditation. And long story short, they started talking to me. Did we talk about this last week? They literally started talking to me in the sauna, and it's a girl. And usually a girl doesn't initiate conversation when a guy comes in the sauna. They put their head down. That's like
Oh, it's a
natural.
co-ed sauna.
Yeah, it's at
Oh,
Lifetime. So she gets in and she's like, "Hey, how are you? What are you doing?" And it turns out she says she's so used to noise that she feels so uncomfortable sitting still. And then I told her what I do for a living, and she's like, "I don't know if I'm ready for the silence. Can we keep talking?" And I'm laughing. I'm like, I'm literally teaching people meditation and embrace the moment. She's like, "Just keep telling me things that make me feel good so I can have noise because I'm really scared what's going on in here." And she's the perfect, example for what's going on in the world because people are asking for the noise to avoid the moments because as we
mhm.
awaken, there's so much going on and so much not even opportunity, necessity to do the inner work, and people are fighting it tooth and nail, like
True.
fighting it tooth and nail.
True. They're all caught up in what everybody else is doing or not doing. They're caught up in what the government's doing or not doing. They're caught up in everything else and everybody else except for themselves, and they're running away from that true potential that they could be so much more and have so much more discipline and so much more happiness and so much more freedom. They let go of all that other shit. And that's before we went on camera. That's what I was explaining to you. I've really just been focusing on surrendering and not thinking about what's next and what has to be next. It's like I know it's all unfolding for my greater good. I keep focusing on that. I know that just around the corner something's going to happen and it's going to be like the next level success. And right now I'm just like, you know what, Chris, if you knew that next March everything was going to change, what would you be doing right now? You'd be enjoying all these particular moments. You wouldn't even be worrying about it. It would be safe and you'd be enjoying the shit. But so often we're like sitting there like, oh, well, this needs to be like this and I should be like this and I got to do this and I have to do this and I got blah, blah, blah. And we're just never present. And it's like, it's sad because then you get to the end of your game and you're like, all that egoic bullshit, all that trying to prove something to somebody else, all that building of wealth and everything else, that shit doesn't matter. I wish I would have had more moments that I could look back on and be like, yeah, I was there.
Yeah. It's I actually had a really interesting meeting. A good friend of mine who's super well connected to just a lot of people in this world took us out to breakfast the other day, and he's somebody who's going to help me start, building out Go Love Now and just doing a
Oh,
lot of
awesome.
big stuff. So we were at breakfast with the president of Marvel, like all the comics, the entertainment, and another guy who's
Whoa.
another guy who's a venture fund. He has like 300 companies in his portfolio that he's, building and taking care of. So two very connected people. And the whole conversation, it was just very interesting because, we're all sitting together and, there were very different mindsets. Somebody had a very different political view. Somebody had a very different this view. But we all came down to one thing, and the whole conversation talked about impact.
Yeah.
We just kept saying impact. And so it brings me back to when you're talking about the moments, because if we're both observer and creator of this world, and what I mean by observer, step outside yourself, stop saying everything's against me, observe it. But at the same time, as you're observing this world, realize you have the ability to create and change. Once we look at change within is change without. And so we just kept talking about that. And I've noticed for a long time, I get so focused on impact to those I'm touching. And they just kept saying, why are you not scaling this? Why are you not scaling this? Why are you not scaling this? Even if it's seed planted to 1 billion people, that's better than, 40 people. And I'm not saying what's better or worse, but they just really started getting my mind to open up. Like, why am I not scaling this times like 1 million? So, but it's all about impact. And you say it all the time, man, embracing those moments, because they're going to get faster and faster and faster. And what we do with each one of them is really just being present in it. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think that's one of the best, probably one of the greatest realizations for me on my journey. And everybody knows my journey, to be able to sit there and like really recognize like, fuck, like it's not about what's next. It's about what's now. Because what's next, I could fall down the stairs. I could have a heart attack. We could get nuked. What's right now? Like, that's one of the greatest things that I've learned through all of my trials and tribulations. And it's been probably one of the hardest lessons I've had to learn, is to let go, to surrender and not be in control, and to know and to understand and to feel and to believe that it's all happening for my greater good, that everything that's happening right now is setting me up for what's next. And if I focus on what's happening now and I think about it in negative terms, then what's next isn't going to come, because my focus is in the wrong spot. And I'm reading this book, actually, do I have it right here? Yeah. I'm reading this great book. It's called, courtesy of Lee. I see Lee is in the house. It's called This Thing Called You. It's by Ernest Holmes. Apparently it was written like in the dark ages. Thank you, Lee. Our buddy Lee's right here. Lee was on the show just a few weeks ago. And in that, it's talking about like the big core of it is like having faith and letting go and surrendering and not having that attachment, I guess, to so many things. And when you release that attachment, then you're able to enjoy those moments. And whether or not something comes to fruition, you're going to figure it out anyway, because you survived 100% of everything you've been through.
Yeah. And that's exactly the point of observer and creator simultaneously, is the detachment of all that we have here, like the body, all the things that we think, I have to be good at this and this, and all those attachments. Be the observer, recognize the reality. This is the vessel that we're playing in this game in, but understand that you're a co-creator of all of this.
Yep.
And that's the hardest part. I feel like in coaching, I can get people to get to the space where, I kind of did that observer thing. I sort of see what you're saying, not fully embodying it, but getting to the space that I'm an observer, detached from this, and I can co-create all of this by fixing this.
Yeah.
You have to say it again and again and again, and eventually somebody receives it and embodies it. But I'm going to tell you this, once you embody it, there's a weird door that opens. Yeah. And when that door opens, it's literally a magical paradise of everything that's always been you. I want to say that again. A door opens that's literally a magical paradise of everything that's always been you. So please do what Chris is telling you guys. Embrace every moment, because when you embrace the moment, things slow down. You can become the observer creator. And in that space, that's what's going to open the door. That's the key to that door. And I can promise you, this world is a magical world. You're just seeing the noise because that's what's being focused on by the collective.
Yep. Yep. Focus goes where energy flows. I always screw that up, but focus goes where energy flows. And speaking of focus and speaking of energy, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls out there in viewer land, sometimes you're watching the show, you're like checking out the show and you're like, man, I love Chris and Scott. I love Chris and Scott. Maybe one day I'll be on the show. And that's what we've got for you tonight. Nellie Bracho has been a firm supporter of the show and Scott and I for so many years. And we said, hey, why don't you come on the show and talk about Hooked on Humanity, talk about your story, talk about all the beautiful things that you do in the world, and be on the show instead of watching the show. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Unfiltered Experience, Nellie Bracho. What's up, Nellie? Welcome. Good evening.
Everything's up.
Everything's up. I don't know.
Things
not
are
right
happening.
Now. That's good.
Yep. I don't usually talk on this kind of format very often. So it feels like I'm talking to myself because I know nobody else is here.
Well, Nellie, you've watched the show enough, but you've watched the show enough.
I have to do it more often.
Ah, there we go.
See, I'm going to have to call my grandkids and talk on that FaceTime thing.
It's practice.
Yes.
More often. So, how
Yes,
are y'all doing good tonight?
We're doing awesome. I mean, it's Friday night. It's beautiful here in Southern California. It's been actually cold today. I was wearing a long sleeve shirt today, which is, I mean, I literally went from like 90 and 100 degrees to like this morning it was 46 degrees. I'm like, well, we get an in between? Don't we get a little softening before we get rammed?
That's where we're at here in Bell County. Is we're kind of in between. So we have some really beautiful days. So we do have like a short span of springtime, and where it's
3
not
hours?
hot, it's not cold,
Yeah.
and it's beautiful nights, and everybody's out on the street a lot, walking around, stuff like that with their kids and everything. And it's a small little neighborhood, it's a small town. So I like seeing people just taking their families and going for walks.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
With their pets, and they're just playing in the street, with their little ball and everything. It's kind of neat. But tonight we're supposed to have some kind of tornado.
Actually, Nellie, it's funny you said that because I don't know if you I just heard the first hit of rain and I could hear the wind. So between 6 and 8 o'clock, and it's 7:12 right now, between 6 and 8 o'clock, they're saying there could be tornadoes and hurricane winds coming through. Wow. And they're like put all your stuff. And I'm almost thinking, maybe I should have put the stuff into my deck. Like if at some point I just disappear for a minute, nothing personal, just I'll be back.
I got a tornado to deal with. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, I got this quick little tornado.
Think how many times they tell us that's going to happen and it doesn't.
But that's
happen.
the problem. They say that it happens somewhere. It just goes by us by a few miles.
The boy who cries wolf. Well, we appreciate you being here, Nellie. We appreciate you being on the other side of the camera tonight because you are an influential person. You've had your trials and tribulations, and now you have Hooked on Humanity, which we're going to be talking about in a second. But my question first for you is, I'm curious, who was 10-year-old Nellie? What was 10-year-old Nellie like? What were your interests? What were your dreams? What were your aspirations? What was your environment like when you were 10 years old?
Wow, 10-year-old Nellie. Okay. Like really, 10-year-old Nellie was really a spoiled brat.
And
I didn't have any aspirations really. And really, yes, the spoiled brat of the family. And it was like to a fault where like it was a dysfunctional kind of situation, Can
you give us an example of that?
Well, what I can say is I had a very overbearing father. And I think my mom and dad both had kind of maybe strange or unique upbringings. They were, they both, like my father is from Mexico, right? And so like, there's no telling what kind of, apparently he was like, they had to kick him out of the family and stuff. So he was a troublemaker. And I don't think he ever like recovered from that. And, so my mom was great. Mom grew up on the river in Alabama. So, I mean, they had kind of unique upbringings and kind of different ways of communicating, right? So, so when I was born, I was the one that was like catered to. Like my siblings would get in a lot of trouble if they made me mad, or if they, if we got into just an argument that any sibling gets into, right? It's
Were you the youngest?
Yes, I was youngest.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I was going to ask what made you special. Were you the youngest?
It does make sense to a certain point, but this was like I got a little bit older, and I realized what was going on, and I started like stop telling on my siblings when we argued, and like if they happened to break a lamp or something while our parents were out, I would tell them I broke it. When they come back, like, what happened to the lamp? Well, I broke it. I'm sorry. And it's like, I did that because if they said they broke it, they would get their ass beat or something.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's like, I was like, no, I did it, you know.
trying to protect your siblings.
Yeah. It's like, it wasn't worth it. You know what I mean?
Are you a lot younger than your brothers and sisters? And how many do you have?
I think the one that's next to me is 8 years older than me.
That's what it sounds like. So the parents were kind of like, hey, you almost sometimes treat the kid like a grandparents when there's that big gap. You know, it's like a grandchild. So there's a different parenting style.
Yep. That's what my wife went through too.
Yeah. I don't know. My dad he wasn't right in the head. So, I mean,
that's fair.
I've seen families that spoil the baby, but all the siblings are happy to spoil the baby too.
Right.
You know what I mean? None of them are going, why does she get everything? Why don't we get shit? You know, why are you treating us like shit and not her? You know, what makes her the queen?
Did you ever find out what that was later in life? Did you ever get it explained to you?
Nobody really did have to explain to me. It's pretty cut and dried when you look at it. When I see how he treated everybody and how much division it created between me and my siblings.
But why you is what Chris is asking. Like why were you the one that, you know, got the favoritism? That's what I'm not getting.
Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But but I mean, I think that really created kind of a toxic instinct in me that things are always going to happen for me. I'm not really going to have to put that much effort into doing things. And then when I began to become an adult and things started happening in my life that I need to be responsible for, I mean, I was worthless. You know.
Can you give us an example of one of those early situations?
Oh, well, there was no way that I could imagine ever myself just raising my kids by myself. You know, my sister did it wonderfully, but the things my sister accomplished, I always thought other people accomplished those, you know, not me, you know, and for some reason I was in a bubble of some type of retardation, if you will. And I can probably figure out, you know, I can probably put the pieces together and figure out how it worked. But I mean, I was married 4 times.
Wow. You really like being married.
Well,
or not being married.
You know,
Exactly.
I thought, you know, I would have if I could have chosen better.
Yeah.
And I think that I probably could have served my children better by choosing better. But then I would have had to know what those red flags are, what I want. I would have had to have known then what I wanted to accomplish in my life, what I wanted to be, had a vision. But the only thing that I thought was, well, you know, I'm broken if there's not a male figure, if there's not a leader figure, you know. This is what my head was telling me, you know. It's like, so now you got to find another leader, you know, instead of me being the leader.
Did you find a lot of the people that you dated were similar to your father's characteristics?
That's a very good question. The guys I dated, no. But the guys I married, yes.
That's what I thought.
And I did go in life. I did think to myself, I'm not marrying anybody like that. And then I thought, well, of course I'm not going to find anybody like that because I'm only going to hang around nice people. I mean, I'm telling you, I was a Pollyanna. Even my therapist said, Nellie, you're a Pollyanna. And I'm like, don't label me.
Don't put baby in a corner.
So
yes,
Nellie,
that's right.
So I've got a question
you're
for you.
You just think everything's going to be all nice and rosy. And I said, I don't think everything's going to be all nice and rosy, but I mean, I hope for nice and rosy. I hope for, the good things. And I always think what you put out there, you're going to get. But here's the trick. Okay, yeah, that's not false. That's true. But it's tricky because the rain falls on the just and the unjust, right? So that means whether you're an asshole or whether you're the greatest person in the world, you're going to get some shit in life.
Of course.
It happens to everybody. This idea that you're just going to be all good and nice and it's all going to come back to you tenfold. It will. It's just not all the time. Right?
Peaks and valleys.
Right. Even somebody that's bad, something good will happen to them. And you think, why does it happen to them? Why aren't they suffering?
Ozzy, shut up!
I say.
Yes.
So,
my damn dog.
The good and bad happens to everybody. Everybody has their opportunities. You either take them or you don't. Everybody has their tribulations. They're either going to be opportunities to you or they're just going to beat you down.
True.
I mean, everyone's got choices, those kinds of choices in life. So I didn't think of that. I just thought I was set. Like, this problem I've got here is going to be okay because I'm going to fix this by doing the right thing. And there's just so many other things to it. There's so many other little things,
of course,
that you have to know and apply. Little bits of knowledge that, like, you can tell somebody, okay, you can just tell them there's already a conditioned thinking that, it's, if you do the right thing and work hard and you're going to succeed in life. It's like, yeah, that's true. But what about all the ins and outs of it? What about all the little operating details? All the thinking points you have to know about to make that work. It doesn't just happen that way,
But you're saying one thing that I'm hearing, like, and it's a great lesson to everybody, is if you come from a space that you think that things might be or could be handed to you and you haven't seen a lot of, trials and tribulation early on, a lot of people are doing that right now with kids. So we're having a lot of kids who are going to come out in that space. One of the things that I always preach as part of Go Love Now is the foundation of love, self-love, gratitude, and self-discipline. So first and foremost, being grateful for the situation that I can even be here to talk on camera like this with you, or have a family or have a roof overhead. And then second, what's the self-discipline to get you there? So you're talking about all the little tidbits. Chris is living homeless with a bunch of cats in a car, and you slap 20 years on that and he's got an MBA. So it's going, the how takes care of itself when the why is aligned, but that has to start with self-discipline. The unsung hero component of self-love is self-discipline and also the foundation. So, talk about that to people. What would have changed in your life and could have possibly been different, or even starting now? What are you doing with self-discipline? Because I see a sense of self-discipline in you now that you're not talking about at age 10.
Well, self-discipline, I don't know, really. I don't know if this is what you mean or not, but I mean, to stay on track, I follow a very strict regimen in the morning to take care of myself. If I falter on any one of those things, I automatically go into this, well, I don't have to do that every morning. And then did another thing. And then next thing you know, I'm sleeping till 9 o'clock, and then I'm like, now I'm falling behind. So I know that's happened before. And I remember how hard it is to get back on track. So now I don't have to deal with that with myself anymore, because as soon as I wake up with the alarm clock, I know I got to get up and start stretching, doing my stretches, doing my physical therapy. And that is always such a rejuvenating thing, to get up and just stretch. Yeah. You don't have to do any extravagant kind of thing, just workout. Routine. Just stretch. And I feel good. And I know that I'm doing something good for myself, for my body to feel better. and it helps to improve my pain tolerance throughout the day. And then, of course, there's no way I would ever forget to make my coffee. Like,
we were just talking about that.
Like
awesome.
I wouldn't, that I don't have to think about. But so that's in there. And then I have 2 dry eraser boards that I look at every day, and then I scratch off what I've already done the day before, and then if I know of anything I got to do, that's what keeps me. I can't believe I need 2 dry eraser boards.
I have many in here in my office.
I think I'll fix and get another one, because got one for Hooked on Humanity and another one for I don't even know what that is. That's something I got to do next week.
What the hell's in my house anyway?
I've got stuff going on all the time. I mean,
you're a busy person. I mean, you're out there making changes in the world. But I want to because you've had some periods in your life that weren't so great, and we've kind of alluded to it a little bit. So talk to us about one of the lowest points in your life. Talk to us about that experience, where you were at, and how you got yourself out of that experience. What type of mindset shifts did you have to start doing?
Okay, so this is the thing. It's like when I was like there, that is when I think I discovered Scott online. And like, I really wasn't looking for a person to listen to or anything. I just saw a few of the posts, and then I don't know, maybe a couple videos or something. Somehow it just worked out that I started to follow Scott, and I heard him, and then Go Love Now. Yeah, I think that's what it was. I saw Go Love Now.
Probably, yeah.
And then, okay, so that must have been what it was. It was so long ago. Okay, well, I think it was hearing you speak about self-worth and self-love. And, if I had been looking for that, I wouldn't have known how to process it. But when I was hearing it, it just did it. It just happened. It processed itself in my head.
Yes.
Do you remember what the message was and how it impacted you and how you shifted?
Okay.
Great.
Well, it was over a number of times. Like I hear it once, and then I noticed next time I heard him speaking about the same thing again, and then just really giving it some thought when I wasn't on Facebook,
Nice.
and just felt like it should mean something to me. But, I was so down that I didn't know what it was supposed to mean. But I knew that it meant something. And my mind just wouldn't forget it. And so...
Where were you at? What was going on in your life that you were so down?
Okay, well... I had just got divorced after being married for 20 years.
Wow.
That has been 20 cumulative years. I'm divorced and then married again to the same person. And probably for the same reasons I ever got married, because I didn't know what to do with my life being single. You know what I mean? I didn't even know. But I think there was after the fact, it was a lot of, well, frankly, there was a lot of signs of narcissism that was going on in our relationship. And I was fortunate to be talking to a therapist at that time, because I was also going through my nerve pain was really bad at that time. And then I just had back surgery some years before, and my back was acting up. So I was in and out of the doctor a lot. And part of my treatment was going to a therapist for pain therapy. Well, he was just a regular therapist that happened to work for that doctor.
Oh, wow.
And I had gone to him years before, when I went to that pain doctor, before my surgery. And I went to him for a little while, and then I quit going. And then my back started hurting again. years later. When I went back, he was still there. And when I walked into his office to start seeing him again, he remembered that I had a lot of kids. I said, how's your kids? And what about this and that? And I can't believe you even remember all that. It's been like 3 or 4 years since I've been in here. And I know you have tons of patience. You know, how, it's amazing.
You stood out.
And so, I mean, and he's Gary Brothers is his name. He's Gary Brothers, and he's in Austin. And he's fantastic. I'm not the kind to like therapists, and I went reluctantly because I knew I had to go. But I'm like, ain't nobody gonna pick my brain. You know what I mean? I was like, and I wouldn't go to just anybody now, even today.
Yeah.
But it just so happened, it turned out that like he's a great therapist, that gave me some really good advice and really, but there was, seems like it was either him and I was going to see a therapist for meditation and learning meditating. And we used to talk a lot too. And maybe it was him. It was one of those guys that was saying, sounds like there's a little narcissism stuff going on there from what you're telling me. There was never
Did you accept that when they said that, or did you become defensive when they said that?
No, they were saying like they felt like I was subject to a narcissist.
Okay.
Right. And so I didn't really, I've heard the term, but then I didn't really know anything about it until they pointed out on a list. And maybe it was my meditation therapist. I'm remembering him with his notebook.
Mm-hmm.
And he was just talking to me about it and not really making a diagnosis or anything like that, because he's just treating me, but I remember him saying he was very concerned that if that's the case, that I should really make sure I stay in therapy as long as I can, even if it's not meditation therapy or whatever, just be close to therapy, in moving forward in my life. And so I looked into it and it was a lot for me. It through the years, I could see, on my own terms, I examine these things from my past.
Yeah.
And
what do you look for when you examine? What do you look for?
I don't want the suggestion of that to be what I believe. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So when I think of everything, though, it was pretty traumatic, So I'm not worried so much about if that's what it was or not, because like if it was, it's over now. So then the only thing I would need to know for moving forward that I would need to know from that is like, how would I prevent, and it would make sense that I'm attracted to somebody like that, because that's how my father was. And that's kind of my mom was in some ways. Mm-hmm. Not as bad as my dad, right? But there's a lot of things. People come into narcissistic kind of tendencies whenever there's a lot of stuff happening in their life they can't control. It's just a kind of a natural thing. I don't know why, but it seems like that's where the brain's going to go.
Yeah.
Whenever there's no control, because we just have a foundational kind of need to be able to control something in our life. And so it just kind of acts on its own, if that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So well, what do you think of this? A lot of times when people experience some form of codependency, we're almost like puzzle pieces. So imagine that as a puzzle piece, you've already become fully aware of the fact that you say, you wanted a man or you wanted somebody in your life to kind of direct it so that you felt whole in that moment. Your puzzle piece probably just had a space right here that said unable to manage self. And if you've got 90% of your subconscious mind repeating that, whatever your dad was saying, whatever, going, Nellie, you need this, you need this, you need this. Eventually you're like, truth. And so your truth says, that I can't do things on my own. And so when you're sitting in that space that you can't, why would you not? I mean, never mind why would you not want to find that in somebody else? But the problem is the people who want to fill that void have the tendency to want to fill that void for the flip side of that, because they want to control someone else, because they feel out of control.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So, gotcha. Yeah, I know.
So to answer the question, to avoid that,
I was like bait, you know, like these people knew the flags they needed to look out for, and me, vulnerable, right? Kind of stupid, really.
Not stupid. Not stupid. Don't say that. Not even.
Looking back, I was.
Yeah, but stupid.
Didn't know what you didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. So like stupid means that you have information and you don't use it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like you could use the word like ignorant in the moment or lack of information, but stupid's a little different. Stupid's I've got the information, I do the opposite anyway. You know, you didn't have the full information.
Well, whatever that would be.
Yeah, but the point is, I think you're answering your own question. So now, if you can recognize that there's a void, one of the things that you can do, and I know you do this, you can do it through prayer, you can do this through meditation, you can do this through healthy connection with others, fill that void in to build up because you said it. When you were first listening to this stuff that I was doing, you were like, that was the recognition of that void. You're going, self-love. That void was talking to you saying, hey, you can fill me yourself. And you're like, no, I can't. Can I?
Well, you know what? It's been through the years.
It takes time.
Of talking to you, and then afterwards meeting Chris, and just really like with his big personality, with the no excuses, you know, and all this stuff. It's like I feel like y'all have, as human beings, served me as a human being, because it's kind of helped me, you know, forgiving myself. I've learned that you have to forgive yourself for things, you know, and so when you do forgive yourself, you know, it kind of paves out a path to show you how to forgive other people.
100%.
And then not making excuses. So I'm not blaming. So you don't, if you're not making excuses, then you can't be blaming other people. You have to be looking inside and saying, what did I do wrong? You know, what did I do wrong? And so many people, and you've probably seen this before when I say, you're in charge of this. You're the only one that can make a decision. And why, by you allowing this to happen, this is why they're doing this to you. And then they get mad. They feel like I'm saying it's your fault. And so I don't know. I guess I am saying it's part their fault because of what they're not thinking and they're doing. Because it's not all their fault, because someone else has decided they're going to bring this grief onto them and play games with them. But what they're doing wrong is they're letting it happen. That's all. And all I'm saying is you can just say adios. But you know, some people can't. I understand. They're in a bad situation where, like I've seen in being in the humanity kind of thing, I run into a lot of people who have like they're scared of their spouse, you know, so they can't just let it go so easily. I understand that. But if it's really a question of like there's no danger and you are suffering this kind of thing with another person, you can turn that light switch off anytime you want to. I mean, when I left, I didn't have anywhere to go. I was just done. And I felt like a laughing stock because I had married him twice, you know? And I thought people are going to laugh at me and people are going to think I'm stupid, but I don't care. I felt like Nacho Libre.
Don't give a fuck. I got to get out of here.
I don't care, you know.
Hashtag Bracho Libre.
I just
Bracho Libre.
It just
hashtag Bracho Libre.
I like when he defends himself. He's so funny. I love that character. But
so Nellie, I want to interrupt you here for a second because we're talking about something that's really good, but I want to dig into the meat of this. Talk to us about empathy and forgiveness, because that's something we talk about here a lot on the show with people who've had their trials and tribulations with different things. love, empathy, and forgiveness. Talk to us about that in your journey, and maybe as it's directed towards your parents, because a lot of times we have these hidden resentments and angers towards our parents for the things they did or didn't do, and we kind of carry that on into our adult life. Talk to us about that empathy and forgiveness and compassion component of your journey, and then I want you to talk about Hooked on Humanity and how you became involved in that.
Okay. Well, yes, empathy. I guess we could all empathize better when we understand what every human being has their own needs. What is that hierarchy of needs?
Maslow.
We know how much we all have in common just being human if we look at that, you know. So even if you don't know somebody, you already know some of their needs as a human being and can minister to that, you know. So forgiving, I think, begins with forgiving yourself. Because one of the things, you're like me, I'm just going to say me. It's different for everybody, I'm sure. But I mean, for me, I had to just say, okay, you know, I'm human. Who knows why I made the decisions I made? Who knows why I did the things I did? But I made a mistake and I can't undo it. And I've just really got to move forward. And I know that if I have an opportunity, I'm going to do better, and I'm going to create ways to do better.
There you go.
You know, and I knew this in my mind. So I told myself that, but then I had to actually believe it and feel it. So after a while, it just began to, like, the guilt doesn't really leave, but you find a way to put it in the back of your head and say, okay, if you're not going to leave, that's fine, but you go to the back. You can't talk.
I don't want to deal with you right now.
Yeah, I'm not going to deal with you ever again. You just here, but you have nothing to say, right? Because, like, I never tell people to stop worrying or forget about this, because people can't really forget about some things, right? But you can say, be quiet. You go to the back of my head. You can stay there, and I'll probably, like, remember you sometimes, but you're not going to have the say over what I'm going to do today or how I'm going to feel. And what I got to do doesn't include you. So you got to go to the back of my mind and just be quiet. So that's basically trying to visualize that feeling of guilt or unforgiveness, to visualize it and say, I'm putting this down right here. You know, I have a little thing called the Fuck It Bucket that I got from, it's a kind of a Dave Matthews Band thing.
Yeah.
And they have little charms. And I get a charm. And if it's something I'm worried about or whatnot, I say, okay, this is what it is. It's going in the Fuck It Bucket, and I can't think about it for 7 days. Let's say 7 days. I know I cannot think about it. And then if I got to go back to it, it's there. But chances are I'm going to think about it differently if I just leave it alone, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of how I got rid of that feeling of guilt, and just gave myself cheers for realizing that I needed to improve. I needed to grow. I needed to learn. I needed to make changes to me if my life was going to change. So when I realized that, then I began to look at other people in my life that I felt like I didn't really feel like my parents were the cause of my problems. I just know that my problems started in my upbringing. That's all. Mm-hmm. I mean, but it's never been like, oh, I hate the way I was raised. And I do hate the way I was raised, right? Because I want to be part of a family. I don't want to be, divided, so.
The object.
It's like, I didn't like that at all, right? But as far as my own mistakes, I didn't, it was just people that I felt like did have targeted me for what they wanted to do. And I did hate them. And it did bother me. And I just thought, I heard Scott say one time, people are on a different level.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, you know
Wise
what?
Advice.
They're on a different level. if it's a lower level, okay, no matter how low it is, that's not my problem. They're there, not me, right? They're on another level. That's why they do that.
Mm-hmm.
And I was happy with that explanation because there's just nothing else that makes sense. Because I don't understand why people just can destroy another person's life just by messing with their head, you know?
Well, they have their own issues going on. I mean, that's something to keep really in perspective. Like, you can't fix somebody else's problems, and you can let them go, be on their own journey. But talk to us about Hooked on Humanity. What was the inspiration for Hooked on Humanity, and what is it all about?
Once again, I heard y'all talking about helping people.
Yeah.
And it was during COVID, and still going through some of my depression stuff. And then, of course, COVID made everybody depressed because of the quarantine. So I just, okay, I got to feel better. So I started Hooked on Humanity on Facebook, and I had a bunch of yarn with me. And so I just started making scarves and told people I'm going to give these to the homeless. And that was in 2020.
Yeah.
And then 2021, I ended up here in Bell County at the Salvation Army. And I was like August. And I thought, this is when I would have had to start up Hooked on Humanity. I already did it 1 year. I would like to continue it. I think it would be a good thing now that I'm back in town where I'm going to stay. Why not? So I was staying at the shelter, and I thought about asking Lieutenant David and Don Beckham, who are the leaders of the Salvation Army campus here in Temple. And I thought I'm going to ask them if I can have a yarn drive. And so...
Who?
Yeah.
And I thought, aren't they busy enough? They're not going to just been having a yarn drive for me. But instantly I thought, no, you don't know. All they can do is say no. You got to ask. That's the only way you're going to know. And how are you going to feel later thinking that could have been an opportunity and I didn't even take it?
Yes.
Right. So all this was going through my head. So I just went, and I had already helped out with Vacation Bible School in July. Mm-hmm. So I already knew Don Beckham. So I thought, well, I'm just going to ask her. So I went in there. I said, hey, if I've got a box, do you think I could have a yarn drive here? And then I'm going to use the yarn to make scarves for the homeless. Yes. Right away. Yes.
Love
and
it.
Not only did they say yes, but they were now the receptionist in the office building. Like, people bring them yarn and go, this is for Hooked on Humanity. And they know who it is. And they take care of my yarn for me. I take as long as I need to take to get there to get it. It's like it's part of the family.
Awesome.
So, and then of course, so anyway, so I don't want to get off on a tangent. But okay, so we made scarves in the winter, and I met Kelly Einbaden of Just Serve, which is an app where if you want to find out where any serving opportunities are in your area, you just go to Just Serve and put in your zip code, and it tells you the groups in your area that are looking for volunteers.
That's a
so
great
she signed
idea.
me up on that, and me and her have been practically inseparable since
Beautiful.
we met. She's such a super lady. And then I met Dawn Kropp. Who is also excited about Hooked on Humanity, and she's made us some fabulous scarves. And then when summertime came, we're like, okay, it's not cold anymore. So what are we going to do? We know we're going to continue to make scarves for next winter, but like, what else are we going to do? So, how neighbors used to look out for each other?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, so I started this thing and I've gained some momentum with it. Okay, there was one of my friends who's a single mother, and her son needed some kind of surgery on his jaw or something, and he
Wow.
needed an ice pack. She was going to have to take him to another town for the surgery, and she needed some groceries and stuff. So I just put a little post up on Hooked on Humanity, and I said, "Here's a lady." I never use names, right?
Mhm.
I just say, "Here's a lady. Her son's having this oral surgery, and she needs an ice pack, and I'm getting the ice pack, but I need a donation to help me get her some groceries." Boom! It wasn't even a day. Somebody
Sweet.
donated $30, and so I got on Amazon, ordered the ice pack. I got on HEB and ordered some groceries, had it delivered to her house, and then and also had told the group, if you know anybody in your neighborhood that needs something, let's know about it. Let's see if we can put a few bucks together, like $5 between two people for something, or three people, in case anybody needs anything. If it's a small need, that's important. And so I do that so that they will just keep a lookout in their neighborhood, maybe. It will kind of encourage them to think about being more aware of their surroundings,
Mhm.
and get more, remember how it feels to think about your neighbors,
Yes.
Yes. We need
And
to
then
do that more than we've ever done that before,
No question.
because of everything that's going on in the world today. I mean, Nellie, what you've shared today has been super impactful. I can't believe it's already been nearly an hour. It's been 52 minutes, and we've already been talking. Thank you, darling, for being here. Thank you for sharing your vulnerable story, and thank you for being a light in the sea of darkness that's going on in the world today with Hooked on Humanity. How can people get a hold of you and continue the conversation with you, and perhaps donate some yarn or do something to help Hooked on Humanity?
They can just look me up on Facebook. It's Hooked on Humanity 2022. But just Hooked on Humanity is the profile, but there's the link to the group right at the top. So Hooked on Humanity, you just find that and go to, and there'll be the link to the group.
Awesome.
And
They
then
can
my
send you
phone number
emails
is
to. They
probably
can
there.
send you email at the email on the screen.
But yes, that's fine. Yeah, you can use that email.
You want to just say it out for the people listening to the podcast?
Oh, I'm sorry, brachobell@yahoo.com.
That's
Sure.
Bell,
So that's
Belle.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, Bell with
Belle.
an E.
Yep, two L's and an
Absolutely.
E.
And then facebook.com/hookedon.humanity. Right?
That's it.
There you
No,
go.
I don't think it's a dot.
Well, that's what you sent me.
Yeah.
I just copied it.
So if it's not a dot, check
Oh,
that. And
you
if
know
it
what?
is a dot, roll with
I've
the
Here,
dot.
never looked
I'll
at it.
I'll click on it. Yep, that's the right one. Yep.
Okay, good. Okay,
There you
I've
go,
never
we got
noticed
it.
what the link said.
Hey, we all learn something new every minute. That's why
Yeah,
we got
we
to
do.
embrace the moments.
That's right. Pay attention.
Well, sister, you are a light in the clouds. You're a light in the darkness, and thank you so much. I mean, the things you do for humanity, the things you do for homelessness, the things you do for people in your circus, your circle of life, your circle of life is just commendable, and we just appreciate you so much and for supporting the show, supporting me and Scott. I'm so glad you found Scott that day and that his messages spoke to you, for you to re-examine your life and re-examine what was going on in your life to be the beautiful person
You too,
are today.
Chris. Y'all are my peeps.
Thank you. No, we got you. That's why we wanted you here on the show, because
I'm listening. I'm listening to every word.
yes. And I mean, the shows are multifaceted. We have all sorts of different types of guests on here, but we definitely wanted to have you on here and feature you because of all the beautiful work that you do in the community and the world. So thank you for being here. We're going to put you backstage for a second. Don't go anywhere because we still want to talk to you. We're going to finish out the show, but thank you, Nellie, for being here. Nellie Bracho, ladies and gentlemen, here on the Unfiltered Experience.
Thank you.
And there we have it. I can't even believe these shows go by so fast, dude.
Yeah, they
it's
do.
Crazy.
It's like 6 seconds.
It's crazy. And I think it's so beautiful that she saw you, heard you, listened to your message, and that was one of her turnaround points in the world.
Yeah. It's a great thing. And we just started the show with the same comment. And, I was talking about sitting with a bunch of people who are financially powerful in the world, and they were mentioning the word impact, and we kept talking about impact. And so that is exactly the reason, that conversation we just had, why I want to put those messages out there, because it might be the first time someone hears it and goes, huh, and then the second time, and then it's the third time. And it doesn't need to be something that, you know, you think is this massive, huge message. It just might be, you're enough, you're worth something, you're beautiful, you're amazing. Believe in you, you know, surrender to something bigger, but believe in you. It could be that, could be no excuses. It could, we need to keep saying the same things over and over. And she just said it. It's the repetition. It's like, you know, I don't know if I liked it. I kind of like it. Okay, I like it. And that's how the world works. Marketing works like that. You don't buy something until you see it 3 or 4 times. We see Starbucks model. You have to have like 10 Starbucks all over the place. So you keep seeing them, finally like, fine, I'll get a coffee. And so that's the way the mind works. The subconscious mind gets a branded imprint on it, and then we're ready for change. So again, I just want everybody out there, when you're like, should I hold the door? Should I say something nice? I don't feel good. I don't know if I have it in me. Keep being amazing in the moments, because you don't know when the moment is that you're going to change your life. And that's what I got. I mean, that's it. You never know when the thing that you're going to say, you're going to do, is literally going to be seen or heard, and it's going to change your life. So trust in you, trust in the process, trust in love, keep doing it.
Yes. I love that, Scott. I just want to capture some of the beautiful people that have been here tonight. Yes. We got Candace Hogan. I can't even see Hagen. My glasses on. Candace, thank you for being here. She says, love you, Nellie. We got Lee in the house. What's up? He says, yay, Nellie. We got Robert in the house saying, hi, Lee. We got Dawn Crop in the house saying, hooked on humanity. Absolutely. Thank you guys for being here. Robert's in the house. We got Woody, my new friend, in the house. He says, hey, Robert, what's going on? Woody says, here, you got me. Woody is an amazing individual. I just got recently connected with him and just checking him out. I don't know why I put that up there. And hey, just in case, if you need to find love, there's somebody watching. 1-8-SEXY double R. That is
some malware.
But we're attracting different types of people, Scott. And Mary Kay says, just earlier I said to Lee, it's amazing how people and things show up in our lives exactly when we need them.
100%.
There's no joke when it says, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And I was going to say that for you and Nellie. You came and said the thing that she needed to hear. She was the student and she listened to this. We got Cameron Murphy in the house, says ex-pro wrestlers or meth recovery. I'm not sure if Cameron's watching the same show that we're doing, but thank you, Cameron, for being here. I appreciate you being here. Mary Kay says wise words. Nellie, got Robert in the house, Lee in the house. We got Tony Franchise giving us 100%. Thank you, Tony, for being here. We appreciate you. And Lee's in the house talking about, and its companion, when I was talking about that book before, this thing called Life. It's an amazing book. Thank you guys all for being here. Mary Kay in the house. You're a beautiful soul sister. So yes, ladies and gentlemen, of course, be here, be square, take to heart the messages that we've been talking about tonight, because, you know, wherever you're at in your journey, you know, there's an opportunity for you guys to sit there and say, okay, what can I take from this particular conversation tonight? What is I can take and apply in my life? Because as you start applying those things step by step, day by day, wire by wire, inch by inch, you'll start getting a little bit more confidence. You'll start feeling a little bit better. You start taking a little better care of yourself. You start making more decisions. You start doing those things. It all builds on itself. It's like compound interest for the mind. When you take those progressive actions and you sit there and say, hey, what can I learn from this? Whatever's going on in your life, what can I learn from this? How can I grow from this? And then once you go through that on the other side, how can I help other people go through the same experience? That's what Scott and I espouse every single week here. We've been doing it for a while. We're approaching our 100th show, Mr. Goyette. We're on show number 97 this week. I think our 100th show is about Thanksgiving. So that's a solo show you and I will be doing. Nice. We've been doing this for a while. We appreciate you guys all out there in video land and broadcasting land, everything else. And we always encourage you guys to go to www.theunfilteredexperience.com, theunfilteredexperience.com. Join the Facebook community. Let us know what it is that you want to see. We take your suggestions. We take the ideas that you have for guests. If you have anybody in particular that you would like to have as a guest here on the show, please send Scott or myself a message, and we'd be happy to entertain that, because this is a conversation with you guys. This is us. This is a family. This is the Unfiltered crew. And each week we all show up here together to talk about, to be vulnerable, to talk about honesty and truth, and talk about how we can all lift ourselves up to the next level in life, and to use our gifts and to use our failures and our mistakes and everything else to build upon one another so that we can make this world a better place. And I just encourage each and every one of you out there in viewer land, listener land, do something that you can do for somebody else, because the greatest gift in life that I have found, Scott, and I know you believe this as well, is the fact that when you go do something for somebody else, the gift that you get in return to know that you spent a couple of bucks and helped a homeless person out. You spent a couple of bucks and help heal humanity out. You spent a couple of bucks and just did something. You took your actions, you took your skills, and you made the world a better place. When you go to bed at night, you got to feel good about that. You got to feel great about that, because that's what the world needs right now. There is so much chaos and so much calamity and so much uncertainty. God bless you if you read the news, because I don't know if I could fucking function if I read the news. I see news headlines and I still think that the world's going to hell. But there's so many beautiful people out there like Scott, myself, you guys out there. Go out there and continue to lift the world up like Nellie's doing. Hooked on Humanity, connect with her, and do what you can do in your own little part of the world, because together, if we all did that every single day, just imagine how different this world would be. And we just thank and appreciate each and every one of you for watching this, for listening to this, for commenting on this, for sharing this. We love you guys. We're going to be back here again next week. Next week, we have Kylie Bruner. Tell us a little bit about Kylie Bruner, Mr. Scott Goyette, since I believe she's a connection of yours.
Yeah, she's a self-love coach. So she's got programs similar to Go Love Now, and she teaches about self-love being the foundation of everything that you're doing. Love self, love others. So it's very in sync with everything that we're doing. I don't know a ton about her program, but I'm sure she'll teach us a little more about it. But it's probably got a lot of the same basis as, what I'm doing. I think hers is 6 weeks, mine's 12 weeks. So if you want to do it fast and you don't want to spend as much time, maybe go with hers. I don't know. Right. But yeah, it'll be a great show.
Awesome. Well, thank you, brother. Appreciate you for being here. Woody says here, he goes, well-defined wrap-up. Love it. We appreciate you, Woody. Perhaps Woody would like to be a guest here on the Unfiltered Experience. Appreciate you guys all being here. Robert, Lee, Mary Kay, you guys are beautiful. We love you. Go out there and enjoy the moments. Enjoy the moments. Be in the moment with the people you're in. Appreciate those, because you never know when those moments are going to stop, and you want to leave a legacy that you're going to be proud of. So always act in accordance with your values. Go out there, lift one another up, and we appreciate you. We'll see you here next week on the Unfiltered Experience. Bye for now.
Peace.